Hello everyone. I know I've been absent for like 3.5 months, but God really just laid this video on my heart, and my roommate's out right now and it's really quiet and sweet, so I was like, God, if you want me to do this, here we go. I haven't really shared my story. I've done a lot of YouTube devotionals, which have been great, but I really feel like God put it in my heart right now to just kind of share a little bit of my testimony and how God's worked in my life. And I feel like this can be applicable for both guys and girls. Since coming to college, God's really grown me and shaped me, and He's really grown my heart and not being as afraid anymore. He's emboldened my spirit. And since then, I've been pretty open in college, the fact that I've struggled with my body image. But at home, I was always not ready to share that. And so I feel like since coming here, God's been able to use me to share in a Bible study I attend, and kind of just seeing how that's encouraged other girls has been amazing. But my story kind of started when I was like 8th grade. I thought that if I was skinny, I would be more popular, I'd be more well liked, and that was a lie that Satan fed me. I had just gotten baptized that year, and I'd grown up in church, but I was still growing in my faith, and I at that point thought that being popular in school was super important, and for whatever reason I thought that being thinner would help me with that, even though I was already small. And that continued on for several years throughout most of high school, and it never got to the point where I had an eating disorder or anything. It was just like I was always very careful about what I ate. Like I always wanted to stay the same size. I didn't want to size up even though I was growing, which was healthy. And I just remember thinking to myself like, oh, my thighs are bigger than that girl's, or oh, like my waist isn't that small, and just comparing myself to everyone I met. And sometimes it was putting myself down, sometimes it was putting the other person down if I thought that I was better in one way or another. And that's not what God wanted at all. And just going through feeling like I always had to compare myself, it was because I put my worth in how I looked on the outside, and obviously that doesn't sustain you forever, because you grow older and you get plumper, or you don't stay the same as in your youth. And I had done that for quite some time, and I remember just at some point during junior year, like God really convicted me. He's like, this isn't who I created you to be. Like, I love you for who you are. And I remember just feeling like, yeah, this isn't what God created me for, and being kind of like, alright, I can't do this. But then we go through spurts where instead of feeling that way all the time, I'd get down on myself, and I was like, I'm not good enough. And in those moments when Satan fed me that lie, I'd go back and really be careful what I ate, exercise, and that was a part of my life for a long time. And I remember finally senior year, like being like, this has no power over me. Like, God created me to be free from sin and free from Satan's lies, and this isn't a part of who he wants me to be anymore. I remember just feeling that and being like, wow. But still sometimes those thoughts would creep in my head of, you're not good enough. I remember just trying to deal with those throughout senior year, even though I felt fine. Like, it wasn't like really a struggle, it was just kind of there. I remember when I got to college, I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to struggle with this anymore. And that was hard, and at first it was so easy. There was so much going going on when I got here as a freshman to college that I was like, well, I don't have time to think about that. But after a little bit, those lies started coming back, and I remember just being like, God, like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, I'm done. And I was at church one Sunday, and one of the pastors was talking about how Satan and the world will feed us lies, but we can't listen to it. Instead, we have to listen to what God says about ourselves. And the pastor didn't say this, but one of the verses that popped up in my head was like, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and like how God created each of us as individuals to reflect Him, and that He loves each one of us in the amazing way that He formed us, and we shouldn't think that one of us is better than the other. And I just remember, like, there has been a couple of times here that I've had to remind myself of that. But just being able to be at the point where I'm like, that doesn't hold any power over me, like Satan can't use that anymore. And I want to encourage you, if you're struggling with something like this that I have, that God loves you exactly the way you are, and you don't have to be any certain shape or size. He loves you for you. And dropping a pound, couple, it doesn't make you any happier in the long run, maybe temporarily, but it's not lasting, it's fleeting, and your true worth comes from God, and He loves you so much that He sent His Son to die for you, His perfect Son, so that you have the opportunity to be in heaven with Him. And that is how much He loves you, and He wants to spend each and every moment with you. And you don't have to try to live up to the world's expectations, because you can make it. You can get to the point where you're like, I should feel the happiest. And I remember being at that point a long time ago and being like, alright, I've achieved it. I'm a size 0. But that literally means nothing to me, because I am just not joyful on the inside. And at that point I kind of lost track of what God really wanted from me, and He just wanted my heart, and to seek Him first. So I just encourage you to just seek Him first in your walk and be content in who you are. So I just encourage you this week that God loves you the way you are, and that your worth doesn't come from anything you can do. It only comes because of what God did on the cross for you. And that's it for this week. I hope that sharing this has helped you, inspired you, encouraged you, and if you need anything, you can comment, direct message me on Instagram, whatever. I'm praying for all of you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I love you all so much, and God loves you even more than I do. Love you guys.